on church retreat, sitting around a campfire. The setting changes, but the words, the gestures remain the same. Likewise, if the great prayer is more responsive, like Andrew was asking, it's the same thing. I'm standing behind the table, and as we all do the prayer together. So I just want to convince you first, as far as baptisms, that, well, notice how many sides? I don't know, six.
Six.
Eric White in the church.
It's not me, it's this font, right?
Mm-hmm.
If this were my church, I would lose the lid. I know where the lid to our font is, but nobody else does. It's tucked away.
Why? So the water always shows.
Because remember what the lid was. It was a lock. It was hiding away the water, protecting the water. But the font is open and full, God's grace overflowing. Why do we want to shut it away and keep it locked up? So I would definitely, nice size mixing bowl like we talked about, right? Straight from the kitchen. The nice thing is if this gets lost, we can find another one. So two things that I would want to convince you of, and that is using as much water as possible. In the font, pouring the font, and then on the baby or the person. Notice when it was Xander, the confirmand, the 14-year-old, I put a towel around his neck so that it caught the water running down the back of his neck. Now, one thing I've noticed over the years is how different people's hair is. Some people, it's like a Brillo pad, and it just runs right over. And other people, it's much thinner, and it just really soaks them. But really would want to convince you to think about holding the baby this way, because you have a lot more control over the baby's neck, head, spine this way than you do flopping around like this. And then when it comes time to putting the water on, when you put the water on the baby like this, where's it going to go?
Your pocket.
Yeah, it's going to go all over you. But this way, you have control. The head's not going to go anywhere, and you have full power to put the water on the head. And let me just see. I should have brought a towel. I didn't bring a towel.
We have lots of towels, don't worry about it.
So the nice thing about that mixing bowl is that it holds a whole pitcher of water. I mean, so that's a good size, more than a candy dish, right?
Right.
So, but, number one hint. I watched Lincoln's baptism last night, and I don't know who the pastor is. But she apologized to Lincoln. At what age was he? 5 months. I'm sorry the water's so cold. Hint, at the beginning of worship, just before worship starts, have your chair of worship or an elder or somebody go fill up the pitcher with the hottest water possible. Hottest water possible. Now that is assuming that baptism is in the order of worship as a response to the word, the preaching. Okay, it wouldn't necessarily work if you had baptism at the beginning of the service. But if it's towards the end, by the time baptism comes along, that water has tempered down to a nice, and what happens when you get water on your hand, it's warm, and on the head, you go to the bathroom, right? So anyway, one hand over Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And again, nothing's going to get ruined up here with a little bit of water. Okay, questions? I think for time's sake, I think it would be valuable if as many of us that can do this is pour the water. I'm not sure we need to do the whole prayer, but the actual act of baptism.
What happens if the first, okay, so my arms aren't long, and I'm not being funny, my arms aren't long, that baby might be kind of tall, comparatively, and the baby's wiggly, because it's not just as cute as the one you just did in May.
Well, so the thing is, I mean, this is as graphic as I can get, but I put the crotch and one leg here, and you can kind of control that baby and the leg with your, it's almost like you're playing a bagpipe back here. And this is short trunked, right? This is not life size. And 18 months would be a hard age to hold this way, especially if, you know, how much does an 18-month baby weigh, right? Yeah, like you're holding a turkey.
But they also, at that point, have more neck control, too.
For sure, for sure.
I've seen parents hold the child while the preacher will like put his arm around it and do it.
So at Lincoln's baptism, I assume that was like the clerk of session? Oh, could have been. He had a white blazer on. Is he clerk of session? He was on session. I think he held Lincoln for the baptism. So I think, and that's one way that it kind of, when I watched it last night, that's a wonderful image of the church doing it together, right? You know, like I always have Terry, our clerk there, as our church person, but even if she had held the baby, that would be nice.
And I think as you talk with the parents about baptism, that's also a good time to practice holding that child.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say, if there's one thing I could do to get parents to not, you know, the Book of Order talks about we should encourage parents to have their children baptized with, what does it say, undue haste, but haste. You know, don't wait till they're 22 months old. There's a window in there that makes it very difficult to baptize a kid because they're unreasonable, right? You know, 5 months you can do anything you want with the baby.
15 years old, you're out.
But a 3-year-old, you can start to have a rational conversation. And I've had them come up and stand, you know, like on the step to the font. An 18-month, that starts to get maybe a little older than that, but a 2-year-old, it's awful. It's just awful. Let me just do one more thing, and that is pour this water again. And I think it's just very important that pouring is done so that it's a visible action of what we do together. Now, a whole bucket of water on the floor might be too much. Okay, somebody coming up to pour and to do the actual baptism.
I want to do it.
Do you want a parent up here?
Yeah. Okay, so just pour it in.
Just pour it in. So the nice thing about that bowl is it makes it a really resonant sound.
Sometimes when I was over at First Federal Huntington, we would a microphone up there. This was even before live streaming, just to make sure everybody in the back could hear it.
Okay. Yeah. And does it matter? It doesn't
Are you
matter.
left-handed?
No, I'm right-handed, so we'll do it this way, right?
I mean, I'm
It's so
glad.
weird with a fake baby.
I'm glad I'm not left-handed because then I don't have to ask that question of right-handed, left-handed.
You
Are
just
you
want to
left-handed,
see.
Susan?
I write left-handed, otherwise I'm right-handed.
What the world?
And just do the short thing, right? Okay. Baby Alice, I baptize you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Is that it?
Yeah, now, I don't think there's anybody anywhere, well, I'm sure there's a Baptist somewhere, that would question whether that baby was baptized. But I don't think most people would say that baby was not baptized. I mean, there was a nice amount of water that rushed over the head and back into the font. There was none of this little dibby-dabby, like you're playing bingo and you've got one of those
Dauber.
things.
It's a dauber.
A dauber. There's none of that. There was plenty of water in the hand and on the hand, coming out of the hand and onto the head. One thing that I probably have done that I try not to do is do this.
Fling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because which you did.
I did, I flicked.
Did you?
I went, whoop.
Yeah. So what does that say?
That's bad.
What are we communicating when we?
That water is bad.
Yeah, get it off of
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Thank you. You want to switch me?
Yeah. So you want me to read for?
I think pouring is hugely important.
Yes, that's a yes.
You know what? Let Sherry help you do that.
She's patting the baby.
Just because that edge of that font is
Yeah.
smaller than it looks.
Sherry, remember twins, no baby season.
So I know this is Sherry's church, so nobody else can answer this. But don't answer this out loud, but who in the church would be so upset that there's water being splashed around? Don't answer. We can all answer that question in our own church.
I honestly
Oh,
don't.
I said the deacon went right out loud.
Yeah, she or he will get over it.
I asked if we could have deacons again, I got shut down.
We're ready to shut down?
Nope. Okay.
Oh, there was even a wave. Did you see that wave? How'd you do that?
Power of the Holy Spirit. That's a good question. What do you do with this now?
I set it down on the floor.
Okay.
Would you make that, the pouring, like part of this section of the baptism, or would that be done, say, well, you can already answer that, you said earlier.
So
If it was treated water.
for me, the water is poured before the prayer.
He was shushing the baby.
Okay. So the water is poured before the prayer. Notice in your Book of Common Worship. Well, let's let Randy go and I'll find this.
Baby Alice, I baptize you in the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit.
I was looking at the book. Do that one more time.
The whole book?
Yeah.
But we don't do that, just
Baby Alice, I baptize you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
That looks better to me. I think the first time the water came off the front of your fingers, off the tips.
Oh, you went over that.
Yeah, rather than cupping off the side. Yeah. And I mean, again, there's plenty of water that's being used there, right? Y'all got some big
Can I be the
hands.
mommy and you all come baptize my
Do the
baby?
mommy first.
No, because I think for time's sake, we need to do two at a time.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Who am I passing my baby off to?
Me and Andrew. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Thanks for volunteering me.
Switching foster parents here.
Oh,
Be good to her.
well, you're in my way.
Scoot your own boot.
This is so fun.
See, this is more nerve-wracking to me than it was getting up there to do a sermon.
Oh, no, this is easy. The sermon is what killed. I need another sermon like yours.
But that's why it's probably better to do this now than the first
I
time.
just want to be said, anytime I've ever thought about pouring the cup for communion or this is what makes me nervous, not to be it up there.
You got a big space to get it.
I just want to make a mess.
No, whatever you want to call it.
All right, boom, chiqua. I baptize you in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
All right, now, so, Andrew's tall, right? And it looks, the font looks like a long ways away from him. I'm not sure if you've been the knees more, that it lowers you.
I'm having knee pain right now.
Okay, don't do that then. I see if you can cradle that head more in the palm of your hand. Yeah, just shove her back there. But, and this time, see if you can get more water on the head. It seems like most of the water was coming out of your hand before your hand got to his.
Perhaps. I feel overly concerned I'm not going to get
Don't be
water in
concerned,
the
just do
baby's
it. That's why, you know.
I baptize you in the name
It's
of the
one
Father,
that could use that,
and the Son.
vessel on top.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that head is wet.
Well, I hope so.
But look, and it's coming off of your other hand. Nice image.
Huh?
You flick.
He flipped.
Oh, you're a
Yeah, he
flicker.
did.
You're a flicker like me.
Yeah.
No, I do genuinely believe in the moment when I'm not distracted by silliness, like I probably would not. Because when the first time I leaned down, you all weren't even in the room to me. Like I was,
Mhm.
I gotta be careful what I say, or I'm gonna break down. But I was in another place. But I was a little more self-conscious the second time because you brought to my attention there's things I could do better, so I was trying to do that. So I understand. I feel like what I would do after getting up like that, then I try to hand the baby back, and we move on to what's next, and this doesn't become so much of an issue, probably until I get to where I have to handle papers or something, if that's a thing.
Well, too, if you needed it, you'd have your little towel, and so you could do here.
Would that be a better visual then? Like if I had a towel placed here, come up out of the water, and then after I hand off the baby, just maybe tap the towel?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll just tell you, sometimes, depending on what's, the day and the weather, sometimes that water just feels really good.
Yeah, in my church, it was always hot.
Running down your sleeve, whatever. Right, okay, y'all switch and.
This is so cool. You're funny.
Here, let me hold this.
Thanks, I'm busy with my baby.
If you hold that.
Oh, I know. Thanks, Dad.
Once you start, don't stop.
Baby shark. Baptize you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. So, yeah, but babies, they might do this with their eyes if you get a little bit in it, but they're just not gonna wail away. If they're not wailing yet, they're not going to. Especially if the water's warm. I mean, if it's cold, we all would, right?
I would like to add to what you just said. I mean, your average baby, maybe not, but like all of my experience in parenting has been with drug babies, or even older children, and they just react totally different. It's almost like having an autistic person.
Sure, yeah.
So, I mean, there's a possibility it's there. Like, as we say in the youth, if you got your B-flat concert baby, then it's probably fine. But it's important to be aware of, like, if you can get some background on the baby you're holding, that's going to come into play.
Well, as we've talked about, I think it's important, especially with an older kid, to have them come in and work with you, walk through it, let them touch the water, let them feel it. If it's an older child, let them help you pour the water in the font, any of those things.
And if there is a mishap, you just go with the flow.
Yeah.
You just, you know,
Don't
go with
poop
the
in
flow.
a pool.
All right, I think we have two more.
Be brave.
Erica, your baby looks just like you.
So while they're going up there and switching the water, some of you have said the name. Part of the formula is to say the name of the child or the person being baptized. So Charlotte Ann, I baptize you in the name of the Father.
Charlotte Rose.
Okay, Charlotte Rose.
And I think it's worth noting when you say the name, because I usually ask the parents, it's part of the ritual, what is the name of your child?
Hello?
And
Y'all can come in. We're baptizing baby Charlotte.
but when you repeat that name, you don't say the child's last name, family name.
All right, everybody hear that? I was just getting ready to say that.
Say that again.
So when the person from the session person says, on behalf of the session, I present Charlotte Rose Jones for the sacrament of baptism, son or daughter of Jim and Mary Jones or whatever. But when you baptize the baby, you say, Charlotte Rose, I baptize you. You don't say the last name. The common understanding is that we all have the same last name. All of our last names is Christian.
Do you have to say their middle name?
Well, that's their full name, except for the last letter of the Christian name.
And I think it's also nice when you say the name and child of the